The refs are biased toward Patrick Mahomes. Punt or go?
Punt. This is silly. This is a classic overreaction to bad officiating when it just happens to be the face of the NFL, the star player, right? When you look at that video right there, it's a terrible call. What you hate about it is that this is the new NFL. The game of football is changing before our eyes. That's what you should hate about it, not because it just happens to be called against Patrick Mahomes. There was an even worse one that got called in the Philadelphia and LA game that no one's talking about because it didn't happen to Patrick Mahomes. You want to talk about Michael Jordan? How about that guy going down the lane in the 80s against the Detroit Pistons? Let's bring up some of those clips, okay? The bigger issue that I have with Patrick Mahomes is when he tries to toe tap on the sideline so that he can get these late calls, and that's when the flag is thrown, even though he's still in bounds. The direction that the NFL is heading, softening the sport, is egregious to me, and I absolutely hate it. It's happening across the league. It's not just happening with Patrick Mahomes. We just notice it more because he's the face of the franchise.
Blaine, I want to go back to you here, and you bring about the superstar treatment, and I actually agree. I think guys do get treated differently depending on who they are. But what pisses me off the most is where in the rule book does it say, hey, this is not roughing the passer unless it's Patrick Mahomes. It's like the other night I'm watching college basketball, and they were actually complimenting the official when a guy drove to lay the ball in, who didn't call the foul until he realized the guy didn't make the shot on a late whistle. And the announcer was like, you know what, that's really good officiating. He waited to see if the ball went in before he decided to call it a foul. What? It's either a foul or it's not a foul. Where in the rule book does it say, hey, if it goes in, don't call the foul? Or, hey, this is roughing the passer unless it's the Chiefs on defense doing this, that, and the other. And that's a whole different conversation because I think the refs help the Chiefs in other areas than just Patrick Mahomes. But do you think the superstar treatment is right? Do you think it's earned? Do you think that's something that should be, existing?
No, I don't. I think every player should be treated equally, and there's a game of consistent rules, and those rules should be consistent no matter who's dribbling a ball or throwing a pass or running the ball into the end zone. But I do think, and I think if you've watched these games, you know to a certain level, why it just always seems like the Chiefs are getting all the calls.
I know I see terrible call.
No, not only
game.
this game.
If
you watch the regular season during the Chiefs got mostly every single call when it comes to Patrick Mahomes.
Congrats.
And I'm not
you took
just
the narrative
that.
bait around the country.
That's not narrative bait. My eyes
You took the narrative bait.
My eyes
Every single game I see a quarterback get hit on time, that they call a late hit, but the narrative doesn't exist, so there's nothing to tweet out about it because it's not Patrick Mahomes.
He's the golden
back-to-back
goose.
Just the same thing I had to listen to with Tom Brady year after year after year. Why? Because he's the best. Same with Nick Saban, who I know we're about to get to. Why? Because he's the best. You get the focal point of attention, even though it's a problem that's happening everywhere. Not just in the NFL, it's happening in college football. I saw one last night. Was that a late hit last night on Will Howard that they called? No.
Different.
No.
Will Howard's not the highest profile player in the league.
There's not a narrative created around it, so it doesn't get caught up on social media.
Interesting.
So I can't wait to get this one. I'm pretty excited. Jake's favorite guy, Nick Saban, little punter go action. He says, the people out there need to know this model is unsustainable. One school can't spend $30 million for players while another school is spending $3 million. And this is my punter go question to you, and David, we'll start with you. Nick Saban calls for NIL competitive balance in college football. Are you punting? Or are you going?
What he calls for it. What do you mean? Is it
Nick Saban comments on he wants competitive?
That it's hypocritical?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going for that. It's hypocritical. And look, I have all the respect in the world for the guy. I think he's the greatest college football coach of all time. But that's to the point. I mean, never was the competitive balance more uncompetitive than when he was coaching. 6 national championships in 12 years. And now you want to talk to me about competitive balance? Come on, man. Don't make the rest of us around this country laugh. Now, if Nick Saban were just retired, right? And just stuck a microphone in front of his face and he's just offering up his thoughts because look, I tried to be the best when I was coaching, but if you want, what's best for the sport moving forward, then this is what should happen. I would say, okay, I can take that into account, but I'm seeing this as he's a mouthpiece for ESPN, his employer now, right? Who has clearly doubled down on the relationship with the SEC. And you have a company like Fox and CBS who doubled down with the Big Ten. And I just see him now that the Big Ten's won back-to-back national championships and guys are transferring out from Alabama and from the SEC. Now he wants to talk about competitive balance. I mean, the underlying sentiment is correct. There's a ton of changes that need to be made. I've been calling for a group of 5 playoff for years now. No one wants to do that. We need more tiers, not fewer tiers where you have $30 million rosters versus $3 million rosters. But to come from him now at this point after his domination, hypocritical.
All right, Nick Saban, is he a hypocrite for these comments? Jake, punt or go?
No, I'm going to punt. He's in a different job. I mean, if we're going to sit here and say, hey, you got to say exactly what you said when you were a coach at another place, I don't think, and then you go to a new job, I don't think Nick Saban's the poster child for believing what he says in the press conferences. Kind of like when he said, I'm not going to leave the Dolphins to go to Alabama. Then 2 days later, he's down at Chuck's eating sushi in Tuscaloosa. You're in a different job. Now you can tell the truth. It has set you free. I don't care if you're retired or you're working for ESPN or whatever. At the end of the day, this is the truth. And he probably did believe that, but he can't go when he's the head coach at Alabama and sit at a press conference and say, hey, I want competitive balance. I'm sick of winning all these championships. I'm sick of getting all these good players. I'm sick of having a 5-star running back as my third string guy. No, he can just tell the truth now. And it is a totally different job. And I think he is right. And I think it's better for the sport. Jim's Bait Shop can't compete with Walmart when they have different budgets. So it's it's a Febreze Brothers situation. It's a fresh start for Nick Saban. It's a new job. Now he can finally tell the truth.
Patrick Mahomes, like I said yesterday, 7-0 in the divisional round. They made the AFC Championship after being the number 1 seed. Josh Allen and the Bills going to go on the road to play them in Kansas City. Do you guys like the line, and what are your thoughts on the game so far coming up?
Look, I picked the Chiefs to win it. I know that's not going out on a limb by any stretch of the imagination, and until somebody proves to me that they can overtake Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to ride with the Chiefs. But there's a couple things I do want the people to know about this game. One, this is the Super Bowl. That it's this game. Because the Eagles or Washington's not going to beat the Chiefs or the Bills that they play them. This is the Super Bowl. I think whoever wins this game, you might as well go ahead and crown them. No disrespect to the NFC, but I think that's the way the chips fall this year. I know we're going to talk about the Eagles. So this is a massive game. This is the game and the hump that the Bills have not been able to get over, that Josh Allen hasn't been able to get over. They've done well against the Chiefs in the regular season. You brought some numbers up yesterday before the game, but look in the postseason where it matters the most, because as we say, the regular season is for regular guys. The Chiefs have had all the success. What Mahomes and Andy Reid and this team have done has been incredible. And I'm picking the Chiefs. I'm fine with the line. I would take it. But I want to talk about the Bills' defense for a second, because I don't think people talk enough about them. A lot of people assume, you look at this offense, Josh Allen in the MVP race. The Bills' defense, they have to make up for it. It's not great. It isn't great, but they're not bad either. They're 11th overall in points per game given up at 21.6. They're 17th in the league, which is about halfway in yards per game given up, and they're 5th in the league in interceptions, right? This defense is not a sore. This defense is not something that you look at like, this is going to be the reason that they lose. I'm more worried about Josh Allen doing what Lamar Jackson did last game and reverting back to the guy that turns the ball over. Because the Chiefs, this is not the Globetrotter Chiefs. This is not the Golden State Warrior Chiefs. They're going to go and throw the ball all over the place and do all these incredible things offensively. This is an even more dangerous Chiefs because they're balanced and they don't make mistakes. So the key for Buffalo, one, is can you go in there and not turn the ball over? Go in there and try and do everything you can if you're Josh Allen, but not turn the ball over. And then defensively, you have to find a way to stop Travis Kelce. I sat here and said, when we went in the playoffs, Travis Kelce is different in the postseason than he is during the regular season. I thought they did load management with him, honestly. And what happens? First game of the playoffs, he has a season high in yardage with 118 yards and scores a touchdown. And where did Patrick Mahomes go when he needed him the most? Including a play I'm going to bring up here shortly in one of the top plays. That is his security blanket. So if the Bills, you got to play clean. That's your only chance. But I think against this Chiefs team, David, if you get up on them, they're in a little more trouble than what they've been in the past because of what I brought up offensively. But I'm not betting against the Chiefs. This is a Super Bowl. If Kansas City wins this one, you might as well make it a 3-peat. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Do us a favor. We all know ESPN is trash and most of that other stuff is. So why not hit the subscribe button? Be a cool person.